Welcome to a review on the Telus Milestone. In this video we're going to go over what you actually get when you buy the Telus Milestone, some basic applications that would make this phone a little bit easier to use, and then in future videos we're going to go into the keyboard and texting and messaging and some little tips to actually make the phone better in that regard. So we'll start with the box, since everyone seems to care about boxes. The Telus Milestone box, this was purchased from Best Buy, has no markings on it in terms of it being from Telus except for the IMEI number and branding on the side, which I'm not going to show in the video. But there really isn't anything that says Telus with fancy animals all over top of it. It's just a basic box. So if you really like boxes, it's a nice box. Okay, on to more important things. The more important thing is the phone. I've had a number of different Android phones. This by far has the absolute best screen of really any phone that I've ever used, with the exception of maybe the i8910 from Samsung. But this is probably a close second, and in daylight it's definitely a better phone to use than the AMOLED screen in the Samsung HD. If you turn the phone on, and I'm only running this actually at 20% brightness, just because it's too bright and it'll wash out in the video, it's absolutely spectacular. So if you've never used this phone before, the first thing you'll notice when you turn it on or show the phone to anyone is the quality of the screen and how clear and crisp everything appears on it. So if you're using this phone for a lot of messaging, reading, ebooks, anything like that, this is a great phone to have. The DPI is very, very high, and I believe it's about 220 DPI, which makes the clarity of the fonts really, really nice. So I'll just turn the phone a little bit to the side so you can see how clear it actually is given the reflection in filming this, just because the screen is so glossy. The phone is very thin in terms of what you would expect for a slider phone. It is a bit thicker than a phone that wouldn't have a pull-out keyboard or any additional keyboard that's built in, but is a lot thinner. So if you had the G1 or Dream, it's tiny compared to it in terms of thickness, so that is a nice advantage. It is a heavier phone, but you will not notice it. Now I know that sounds silly, but when I've started carrying this phone around throughout the day in my pocket, I don't really notice the additional 20 to 30 grams that you would expect in a slide-out phone versus, say, something like an iPhone or something that is a little bit lighter. So if I turn the phone on here, the question that people always have is, I don't want to buy a Telus phone, or I don't want to buy a phone that's branded. I want to be able to load custom ROMs on it. The problem with the phone, and this is not Telus's fault, this is Motorola's fault, is they've decided to include a digital signature in the ROM and bootloader. So anytime you want to install a custom ROM, you can't, because it has to have that digital signature that only Motorola knows. Thank you very much, Motorola. If you buy the Droid, you don't have that restriction. You can just root it and put in your custom ROM and off you go. So that is a little bit of a problem with this phone. There are some people working around that situation, and it's expected that we will be able to load custom ROMs on this phone, hopefully in the near future. So I guess the concern that people have is, okay, well, if I can't load custom ROMs, what kind of garbage am I getting in the phone from the provider? And the nice thing is Telus has done a really nice job in not including garbage into this phone in terms of their own proprietary stuff that people may not want. So that is a nice bonus, and they've done a really nice job of keeping the phone clean in the sense of there's no branding on the phone whatsoever, either on the front or on the back. So the only thing it says there is Google, if you can read things upside down. So that is very, very nice to see. So there are a number of things in the phone that are great, but I would suggest making a few little tweaks off the bat. One little thing I've included here is a widget that's taken from the Nexus 1. It's just a little weather and news widget. The other thing that I found actually works really well in terms of helping you type on the on-screen keyboard is two different keyboards. So I'll just go into here. One of them is Better Keyboard. And I'm lucky here that I had all my paid apps for my rooted Hero, so I was just able to transfer them over. But unfortunately, paid apps are not available on the market right now. So if I go to the market, that was a question people had. In the PDF that came with the phone in terms of a user manual showed that paid apps are available, which isn't really true. They're not. So you can see there's no paid apps in the market, and it is running the new market that's available in 2.0. This phone is running 2.01. So that's kind of a bummer in terms of not having access to those paid apps. And yeah, there are always ways to find paid apps, but it would be nice if you want to support the developer that you can't because they're not available, which seems kind of silly. But lucky for me, as I had my rooted hero and I just transferred stuff over. Okay, so one keyboard which I mentioned was really helpful was Better Keyboard. It just makes typing a little bit easier because it makes the on-screen keyboard bigger. But the other keyboard that I've been using right now, and I'm just trying to find it here. It's called, let's see if I can bring that up there. It's called Talk to Me Keyboard. So Talk to Me Keyboard. So you click on it here. There's a number of things that will go in here, and you can tweak it. But what it is, and maybe I'll just go into, I don't know, open up a browser here. Open up. There we go. Oh, it's got a message. Okay, so the keyboard adds in a little voice button so you can talk and it'll turn your voice into text. Yeah, it's okay, but it's not great. It doesn't work that well. But what it does is this. So I'm not going to spend too much time in terms of texting on the keyboard, but if I wanted to create an, say I'll just create a new text message, so I'll just trouble seeing the home button here. There we are. So I'll go to home. I'm going to create a new message. So create a new message. Okay, I'm going to create a new message. New message. Okay. There is no autocorrect for the on-screen keyboard, so I'll just click here. Okay. I'll close it. For the on-screen keyboard, there is autocorrect. So if you type in a word, it'll fix it. So if I spell, and I'm doing this through the camera, so this is really hard. So if I spell the like that, you can see how it gives you options. In this case, it didn't seem to figure out that I was trying to spell the word the. But for the most part, it fixes the corrections actually pretty well. But the problem is when you open up your physical keyboard, there is no autocorrect, and it sucks because maybe if you're typing fast, you're going to make mistakes and you want it to fix it for you. But if you include this keyboard, when you click in here, right, it'll automatically fix your mistakes. Now, this is really tough. I'm going to do a different video because I'm reaching around a box here trying to film that will show texting on this device. But if you include this keyboard, it actually has autocorrect for the physical keyboard as well. And that's a nice little bonus because I found it actually made entering longer messages really, really